Well, we're thrilled to have a repeat appearance here on Off the Podium as we get that much closer to the Paris Olympics. Today, we're going to be joined by two-time gold medalist. I'm not going to say former fastest man alive because I believe that once you are like a president, you hold that title for life. Or we're going to say fastest man alive, published author of his great new autobiography, and gets to join a new club today, along with the likes of The Empire Strikes Back and The Godfather 2 for one of the greatest sequels of all time, the reappearance of Donovan Bailey on Off the Podium. Donovan Bailey Part 2, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. And yes, I mean, the fastest man in the world title thing, you don't lose it. I don't think you ever lose it. So when you have that title, or when you're the Olympic champion or the world champion, there's no such thing as former. So yes, I'm still that, and I also still got a world record too. But thanks for having me again on your podcast, and I'm loving being back here.
Yeah, it's been a couple months since you've been on here, but I think we're kind of at the perfect timing. We'll kind of tell people at the time we're recording this, we're still about a month or so out from the Paris Olympics. But when you're listening to this, it's right around the corner. But I know from listening to you, you got your own podcast. You know, you follow track and field. You're still following your own sport and everything. I mean, how are you enjoying the build up to Paris? Do you have any thoughts right now where we're at as far as like your events, 100 meters, any of the other ones?
We do have, I do have a podcast, Donovan Bailey Running Things, get it where you get your podcasts. Yeah, you know what I do? I mean, I try to keep my hand on the pulse of kind of the kids that are going on now. I will be working with CBC again, no complaints there with the CBC team, broadcasting and analyzing the kids that's going to be competing in Paris. But you know what? There's some great young talent. There's a lot of amazing performances that have happened this year. Incredible people from really across the planet. There's some good young kids out of Australia, out of the UK, Jamaica, Canada. We've got a new sprinter, Arjun Leduc, who's broken the Canadian record. We've got the men. The men are always going to be exciting. So I'm looking forward to Paris. It will be great. I mean, it'll be amazing. And we will, I mean, I don't know what records we're going to see, but as we're ramping into it, it looks like there's going to be quite exciting, and there's certainly going to be some new champions and some veterans that are there trying to defend titles that they've earned before.
I've got to ask a question, and I don't like bringing up an American sprinter to a great Canadian sprinter, but Noah Lyles, Donovan. I mean, I'm a bit of a fanboy of Noah, and obviously a lot of hype around him, particularly after the World Championships last year doing the double. I mean, can he do it? Carl Lewis, I believe, was the last American to win the double for the 100, 200 at the Olympics. Can this break the drought? Can Noah do it for the US in Paris?
Well, first of all, I got to tell you this, man. I mean, ultimately, the Champions Club is a small club. And so we invite, first of all, it is a battle before you get there. It's a rivalry before you get there. But when you're there, you're part of the club. So Noah Lyles is definitely one of those kids, part of the club, man. I'm a big fan of his also. His confidence, his ability to be the ambassador of track and field as the #1 sprinter in the world right now is incredible. Can he do it? Not sure, because I was thinking, okay, there's a couple of things that I know that I'm quite confident of. Noah Lyles is very confident. I'm also confident that Noah Lyles should be the winner of the 200 meters. The 100 meters to me is still wide open, man. I think that Noah is, again, incredible. He's got the most confidence of all the guys. And that's really that's a deciding factor right now. Anytime you're watching the 100 meters, that's the 8th greatest specimen of human being, whether it's female or male, competing. Noah Lyles is the one that's going to look at you and say, hey, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to do that. And what that does, it separates a lot of the athletes, because some of them get offended by him saying that, because of their own personal insecurities. So at the end of the day, I'm saying to him, man, continue doing what he's doing. I'm a fan of his also, but I got to tell you, the 100 meters men's trials at the U.S. Championships will be probably one of the toughest teams to make. There are probably 6 to 8 men in the U.S. that can make the team. So if Noah gets through the trials and gets to the championships, he's definitely one of the guys that I expect to play an incredible role in winning or attempting to win the 100 meters at the Olympics. But there's others. I mean, there's tons of others. You've got Kenny Bednarik, Courtney Lindsay. You've got, my God, who am I missing? Arian Knighton, Fred Curley. I mean, Christian Coleman. I'm missing a few, and that's just the Americans. We've got a couple of Africans. Amanyala, Lestile Tobogo, Zarna Hughes from the UK. The Jamaican Oblique Seville, who was the number one Ghana, the fastest man in the world as of today.
Yeah.
Akeem Blake, Andre DeGrasse is still there. I mean, so man, listen. I guess that's a long answer to your very short question.
That's why you're here. We want that. We want that, Donovan.
Can he double? Yes. Can he double up? Does he have the talent to do it? Yes. Does he have the confidence to do it? Yes. Do I think he's going to win the 100 meters? Well, he surprised me last year when he won the 100. So I'm saying to you that it's still a toss-up this year. And I'm looking forward to it as well as probably as much as you guys are.
Yeah, I think it's always most interesting when you have an open field, and you can't really call it. I mean, looking at it from the Canadian point of view, like you mentioned, Andre DeGrasse, I mean, this is going to be his 3rd Olympics, and he's sort of surprised, I guess, in Rio and, continued success and everything. One thing that I think I always see in DeGrasse is that he has a little bit of that you talk about in your book, like the persona of a runner, a sprinter, not necessarily arrogance, but like a confidence and a swagger and everything. And he sort of got his own personality. Like I don't know how you kind of been following DeGrasse leading into this one, looking at it more from a technical point of view, because he's obviously a big, ambassador for Canada. He's got his own book out there, but how are you sort of seeing his results leading into to Paris, where we can see him in a couple of weeks?
Dude, I'm been a fan of Andre since he was at USC, when he came on the radar. And one of the great things that I've always liked about him is that when the lights are shining brightest, he's ready and he's not going to falter. And so he's putting himself in a great position, probably the best in a while this year, because number one, he's injury free and he's running consistently. The times are not there yet, but who cares? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, winning Diamond League or permit track meets, like real track meets, real competitions, has been good. He's been consistent this year. So that's why I'm not sleeping on Andre. I think that he's going to put himself in a position to at least be on the podium. And I know that if he puts himself in the finals, we know that he's not going to break in the finals. We know that no matter what happens, he is not going to make a mistake that's going to allow him not to get what he deserves.
One of our favorite events in Tokyo, him winning the 200. It's in our introduction. We absolutely love that. On the women's side of things, Donovan, I mean, that's also very interesting as well. You've got the Jamaicans where, talking Elaine, Shelly-Ann, Sharika. Then you've also got the Americans going on there as well, sha'carri. I mean, it's just, this one's extra interesting, and the history and everything involved there as well with it. I mean, how are you seeing the women's sprinting events in Paris shaping up?
Oh, man, the women's race will be better than the men's race. And I'm saying this, again, this is what I know professionally, but I'm a huge fan. And it is so good. I mean, the 100 meters, it's Shelly-Ann, who's probably the most decorated and the greatest sprinter, lady sprinter, the woman sprinter there is. And one of my favorites. And when I speak and I tell people about watching how it is that an athlete should run technically sound and execute and transition, Shelly-Ann is the person that I always defer to. I always say, go and watch her race. So it's her last Olympics. She hasn't competed this year yet, but I expect that she is not going to show up unless she's expecting to win. Now, you've got Elaine, who is, I think she just got injured, or they're going through some sort of injury protocol. I just, in the last event in New York, she didn't look that good, but I think that she got hurt. So hopefully she'll take care of that. Sharika, I believe, thought she won the 100 meters last year. And I think that she's a little pissed. And I think that she's coming back thinking, man, I cannot believe that happened. So I think that, again, she's just trying to put herself in a place where she will be in that spot again, where she can repeat last year, but not make the mistake. sha'carri is a massive talent, man. And at the end of the day, she's American woman spokesperson for the sport, and running fast, and reigning world champion. So and those are just, I mean, think about, we've got Dina Asher-Smith, Talou. We've got a ton of, we probably have 10 women that are capable of running, 10.9, 10.8, and faster. So yeah, it's going to be incredible.
Do you know much, or have you followed much on Australia's Tori Lewis? Of course, she's had some recent good form and dimes. I mean, what's your take on Tori and her chances? Tori
is fantastic, incredible young talent, and what I love about her, she's unafraid. It doesn't matter, And I mean, it was when she beat sha'carri in the 200 meters. Again, young sprinter, out there when you're out in the front of the pack. When you're on the outside in the 100 meters or on the outside in the 200 meters, you're on an island by yourself. So it simply means that you have to run your own race, which simply means that you also have to be mentally and psychologically prepared. She ran incredible. I believe that she's going to play an incredible role as long as she just transitions exactly like she ran in that race. We know already that she's unafraid, and we know that she was prepared to run fast.
It's so rare that we actually get guests on the show who, after leaving the sport, have as much enthusiasm as you have, and seem to follow it as much of an expert. I mean, this is you're going to put us to shame once the Olympics come. We're going to have so much less knowledge.
No, man, it's all good. So we're a team now. We're a team.
Exactly.
Hey, team off the podium. We'll give you the shirt. But I want to go back a little bit, because last time you were on, Benny, you were able to talk about it. Obviously, your 100 meter, like the solo victory, but here in Canada, especially, I mean, at the exact same level, that men's 4x100 relay is like revered. Like that is like the country stopped to watch that event, and still talked about to this day. I think one of the things that I found interesting in the book is that when you did your 100 meter, it was almost like you went in knowing it's like, I'm going to do a world record time. It's just about how good the world record is going to be. Right. Did you have the same type of confidence like in your teammates? I mean, obviously one of the greatest teams of all time, like, Glenroy and Robert and Bruni and everybody. Did you have enough faith in your teammates knowing that you're going to go in there, you're going to post, gold medal in that, and you're going to have one of the greatest runs in Canadian history?
You know what? So there's two answers to that. I mean, I think one, I was extremely confident because I was very prepared to do the things I was going to do solo. So I know that I was going to be I was the reigning world champion, right? And I was also the fastest man in the world going into the Olympics. I knew what I was going to do in the 100 meters. One of the things that's been great and probably not spoken about often enough is the relay. And ultimately, I know what my role was as a leader amongst those guys. Yes, there's infighting, because I am the 100 meter guy and everybody else is a 100 meter guy, and there's only one gold medal in the 100 meters. But what was good was the level of confidence that each of those people had, right? I put a lot of pressure on Robert, a lot of pressure on Glenroy, a lot of pressure on Bruni, a lot of pressure on Carlton. But I think that they understood that because of maybe my confidence, that they themselves became way more confident in the relay, and also understood exactly what the role was and really the task at hand. And then, so the fighting so the competition that would have occurred in the 100 meters, all of a sudden now we became a team. And of course, in Canada, with the hockey mentality, it's the whole team thing, so the team thing occurred. And yeah, so Glenn Roy was way more confident than he would in an individual race. Bruni was way more confident than he would in an individual race. Robert and Carlton were way more confident than they would in an individual race, knowing that I was the number one sprinter in the world and knowing that they were bringing the stick to me. So yeah, you know what, man? I mean, it's one of those things that, we're the first team since 1896, since the start of the Olympics, to beat the Americans. Our relay team was also the number one ranked team in the world for, I think, 5 or 6 years straight. So there's no other team. There's no other team in the history of Canada that's done that. And frankly, there's no other team probably in the that runs that has done that, probably outside the USA.
And it's that extra special feeling, and not only beating the USA, but doing it in their own backyard, Donovan. I mean, just like,
in their living room, Ben.
In their living room. I mean, just like, what do you guys do that night? Are you allowed into like venues to celebrate? Are all the Americans going just like, nah, piss off, you've already given us enough shits for the day? Or are you just going, screw it, we're gold medalists, let us in. Like, we're going to party.
You know what? I don't remember. Okay, so after the relay, after the 100 meters, my friends booked a restaurant, and I just went down there and had like a meal. Then I went back because I had to relay practice 2 days later. After the relay, I think I had a competition like 5 days later. So I don't think we did anything. I think I don't remember us partying that much. I mean,
or you party too much you can't remember. That's what you're saying.
That's there's no memory.
let me qualify that. We all had our fun. There was lots of, you're in the village, so there's a ton of fun and celebrations happening. But as a big blow-up party, I think we had that when we got back to Canada. Because I had to leave to go to either Zurich or Lausanne, or I had to leave Atlanta to go because usually after major championships, that's when you go and basically cash in. And so I had several Diamond League competitions right after. But we partied, and everyone celebrated in the best way they know how.
But the Atlanta Olympics, I mean, Atlanta puts you on the map like to entire world stage. And, obviously I'm sure you probably rarely had an interview where, the Michael Johnson exhibition hasn't come up. What I actually thought was most interesting in your book is to kind of learn something that I kind of suspected, a lot just over the last couple of years, hearing you on your podcast and everything, is that, it wasn't so much as much of a rivalry as like the public was led to believe. Like this was, I guess there was definitely some healthy competition there, but you guys were kind of friendly. This is almost like a, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier thing. Like your good friends be like, hey, we can put a really big gate up if we got this big rivalry. I mean, did you enjoy that part of building to the race of like, I'm not going to say playing on the public, but building up that public interest by maybe enhancing this rivalry a little bit?
Well, yeah, I mean, because it was all made up. I mean, listen, I say it here and I say it every day. I mean, Michael Johnson is one of the best speed endurance athletes that ever existed. I mean, that's why he had the 400-meter world record. He had the 200-meter world record. But Michael's a 10-1 at best 100-meter guy, and a 10-1 100-meter guy is not going to cut it at all. I mean, so even a 150. That was never going to happen. I mean, I'm a 6'2", 205 pound competition, 209 pounds. I was competing at the time. So as far as a race it was never going to be a race. I mean, if you watch the 150, the race was over in like 10 meters, probably 15 meters. Yeah. I mean, I blew by him, and I was on the inside. I started down a meter, and I caught him in probably three strides, which Dan had already said we're going to do anyways. But yeah, you know what? It was an incredible economic opportunity that we cashed in. It was the first of its kind, and it's actually been the last of its kind. I kind of wish that track and field gets to that place again where there is a rivalry. I mean, I hope that you'll have the fastest sprinter in the world, going to Australia and running a 150 against Rowan. You can have the fastest sprinter in the world going to England and running against Zarnell Hughes. I'm just saying that for fans' interests, rivalries, like media spectacle, whatever it is, money-making opportunity for these athletes, that was something that was groundbreaking, and definitely Michael and I were trailblazers in that. But it was never gonna be. I mean, it was built up that way. Michael still owns the fact that I guess he's the fastest man in the world, but he was just simply a one-off. I mean, he was certainly the guy in the quarter and the deuce, but in the 100 meters, wasn't relevant then, and doesn't matter. So we're not fighting over something. These are just all factual things. But yeah, I mean, the 150 played out great. It was Canada versus America. Well, actually, it wasn't. It was the world versus America. I represented the world part, and because I mean, America's always been so dominant. I mean, so this actually like a compliment to them. But yeah, the 150 was that. I mean, and so the Canadian fans also, and so the world fans, all of my global fans, the Australians, Caribbean, Europeans, Asians, they're like, yeah, it's great that you did that. For the Canadians, it was David versus Goliath. It was, I'm sick and tired of being, the northern stepchild. So Donovan, thank you for representing us. And there's so many people that I'll talk to in my travels, in my speeches, in my appearances, even to this day, that said that the 150 meant to them probably as much or more as the world record run in Atlanta, as well as the relay, because it was a self-esteem thing for them and for the country.
Wow. That's crazy to think that. And we always love sticking it to the Americans. We do it in swimming. That's what we do in Australia. Everything else we kind of just
Exactly.
fall back on. One thing I wanted to just touch on quickly. We talked in our last chat, Donovan, about your experiences in Australia and sort of training and everything that you had in that thing. I just wanted to touch quickly on Sydney in your second Olympics, because obviously not quite how it turned out in Atlanta, but the quarterfinal in which you ultimately get eliminated in. A certain Matt Shervington from Australia gets second in that one, ultimately goes on to get the semi. Now, I don't know if you were aware sort of around the media hype around him at that point, because his big thing was he wanted to make that final. That was like his number one goal. Ultimately didn't. Right. He's now very big in Australia as a TV host and a big media personality. But two questions on that. Experiences in Sydney, can you look back on anything fondly on that experience? And did you have sort of any run-ins with Matt, or kind of, work side by side with Matt, and any interactions with him sort of in that period?
Matt and Damien are boys, man. Those are my boys. Yeah, man. I haven't talked to them in a while. But here's the thing. I mean, just remember that, when Australia ran well in Victoria and at the World Championships, it was like we were friends. I'm just saying we were. Again, if you're going to speak about rivalries, we weren't necessarily rivals. However, we were friendly rivals. I mean, those guys, we want to crush the Canadians. And of course, we want to beat them too. But at the end of it, we broke bread and smiled and high-fived each other. So yeah, listen, to the Australian crew, man, I've had amazing time. Now, my experiences in Sydney was obviously different. Number one, I'm the reigning Olympic champion. Number two, I'm coming back and wanting to repeat. Number three, I'm coming off, I ruptured my Achilles. So I blew my Achilles in 1998. So I'm coming back as like half man. One leg works really well. The other leg doesn't work, as well. Got sick in Australia, ended up having bronchial pneumonia. So yeah, I mean, sorry, Matt, if I took away some steam from you in the quarterfinals. But for me, I was just trying to make the finals myself. I wanted to put myself in a position where I could repeat as Olympic champion, but I knew it was a daunting task because I actually was running on one Achilles that was repaired, that was attached by thread.
Wow.
So I was trying to do something that was super, superhuman. But at the end of the day, my training in Melbourne is exceptional. Fantastic people, love it to this day in South Yarra. And so yeah, my experience. I got some incredible friends there still. So man, yeah, it's my times in Australia. It's was phenomenal, and it's still one of my favorite countries in the world.
That's what we like to hear. I mean, you sort of touched on before, after Atlanta, you quick turnaround, you got to go and compete. Given that turnaround in Sydney and with the injury, were you able to then soak up more of the Olympic stuff after that, sort of after your event was done? Or was it a case of, well, I've got to, recover from the injury and go on to my next event. I can't do this again.
Well, a couple of things that happened after I got injured out of the Olympics. Number one, Toronto was bidding for the Olympic Games. I think it was 2008. 2008, right? Yeah. Exactly, man. You're a man of stats. Thank God. Thank God we got to.
We work well together, Donovan. You're welcome.
Perfect. So I was on the bidding team for that. So I definitely had several meetings. Then I went and watched a couple of. I think I watched boxing and basketball. Yeah, man. So listen, in Sydney, I got to go around it, and of course, I got two very good friends that live in Australia that are from Oakville, from where I am, from where I grew up. Tony Binns, who lives in Sydney, and Greg Weiss, who used to live here, but he's a Canadian who's transplanted back there now. So if those guys are listening, shouts out to you. These are my boys. These are like my real friends, like from we're kids. These are guys I got to hang out with. I also had a slew of my other friends, Canadian friends, that flew over there to come watch me compete. The same guys that were in Atlanta. So we got to go out, got to go and eat a lot of food and visit a lot of places. So it was just great post-Olympics in Sydney.
Before we let you go, we will have one quick thing we're going to get your opinion on, but this is just a personal question on my part. Okay. You mentioned Oakville a couple of years ago for the 25th anniversary of the relay and your 100-meter wins in Atlanta. There was like this charity thing. It was like a pass the baton challenge. You do like a virtual race. You can actually see some of your merchandise behind me right now. I got a picture and a medal because I signed up for that. Yes. I couldn't find the shirt. I've got it somewhere, but 30th anniversary coming up of the Atlanta Olympics. I mean, do you have anything similar planned for that I could sign up for and maybe get some more Donovan merch?
Wow, dude. Hey, listen, Colin, awesome. Pass the Baton it's still here. It still exists. We're still doing it. And so let me explain Pass the Baton. Pass the Baton, I'm number 4 of 5 boys. I believe in mentorship. Pass the Baton really is just that. I encourage any adult, I don't care what it is that you do for a living, please pass on your experience and your wisdom to the younger generation, because we need to entrust leadership or future leadership to them. So yes, I think we're definitely going to do something, Colin. Now that you reminded me, I'll get the team on.
And you know what? On the last episode I wasn't able to be on, I made sure that Ben asked for you to give some advice to my son who was doing his first track and field meet. He's actually done 2 track and field meets since then. I'm happy to say I played your advice to him about 5 or 6 times in the car for both track and field meets. And he's come home with a 3rd place in the long jump, a 1st place in the long jump, and a 3rd place in the shot put. So mentorship, you're yes. Already leading the next generation.
Hey, listen, that's okay, man. For me, I simply want the athletes that are competing now to do as good or better than I did.
There you go. Yeah. And the one thing, though, that we have to end on, Donovan, now, there's a bit of a side connection to what I'm about to show you and introduce you here. We have a show mascot. We're big on mascots, Olympic mascots. I've got Izzy behind me there. If you can see him, obviously you'd love him from Atlanta. So we got one made. Now, I'm going to introduce you to Cherry. This is our Olympic mascot for Off the Podium. I'm going to say one thing, Donovan. You've actually technically met Cherry because Colin went along to your book signing in Winnipeg to meet you. And he brought along his Cherry to show you, and he got a photo of it at the same time. And I believe, Colin, what was Donovan's reaction when you introduced him to Cherry at the time?
It's now the tagline from NASA, which is it's a chair.
So
because it doesn't stand up on its own by design.
he doesn't. So I would like you to re-look at Cherry and see if there's any other reaction and inspiration to come from him this time around.
It's definitely a chair. That's my second opinion.
That's how we work. That's how it works. But he's been battered. He's done his like ACL and everything. Colin threw him across the room. Basically,
That's awesome. Dude.
We didn't award Penny Alexiak Athlete of the Day, so he decided to throw a chair across the room. So therefore, he got. I'd hate to have seen if we were on air back in Atlanta and we didn't give you Athlete of the Day. He would have burnt down Winnipeg.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
You know. So
yes, I've thrown a few chairs for sure when I was younger.
It's amazing having you on here, Donovan. I mean, you got enough stories. We could have you on every single week if we wanted to, but people can actually listen to you every single week. I mean, if you want right now, plug your podcast again. I'm one of the listeners. You can plug your book. If anybody's watching on video, this is a copy of it, Undisputed. Plug away.
Awesome.
Where can people follow you?
Colin, that is thank you. Yes, Undisputed. My memoir is in stores wherever books are sold. Donovan Bailey Running Things. Sorry, Donovan Bailey Running Things is my podcast, and I'll be on CBC, and I'll be on CBC during the Olympics, and certainly my podcast will continue. Or you can follow me on social media, which is Instagram, the official Donovan Bailey, and what are the others? Just find me. You can find me.
TikTok? Do you have TikTok yet, Donovan?
There's only one face.
No TikTok yet? Oh, can we get you on TikTok?
You know what? I think I have to speak to my social media manager. I think we're going on TikTok.
Yes.
Very soon. Yeah.
Good.
You're going to have the first follower from us.
Yes.
You will.
Amazing having you on as always. And we look forward to, fingers crossed, having you on again at some point in the future.
Hey guys, this has been amazing. Absolutely. Have yourself a phenomenal day. And yeah, man, why not? This has been fun. So I'll jump on there when we got a minute in the future.